My business is a coffee shop and roastery in downtown Maple Creek. We've been there for 15 years. We've recently started the roastery. I think back to March. The 15th of March, I was planning a launch of the coffee. I was planning for the tourist season. We were planning coffee roasting tours. The 16th of March, we were planning whether or not we were going to shut the business completely because of the COVID situation. Overnight, people had to cook all their own food. Overnight, people couldn't buy toilet paper. Overnight, people had their children at home all the time and so had to marshal a totally different way of doing business. I was worried about our supply chains for food. I was worried how the community would be able to get what they needed from the businesses in town.
One week somebody would come in and there'd be a rush on this stuff, so then we would load up on that and I would try to find everything for because our traffic count was way up. But then all of a sudden all that stuff was back ordered, sold out. And then we couldn't find it, so we'd have to go to different suppliers. And I searched out 15 new suppliers. There's a really fine line between what you can buy things for and what consumers will pay for. And I found a lot of my suppliers that I was dealing with were ramping the price up so drastically of even stock they had in, and I wasn't buying from them. And I have actually since cut my ties with them because I don't believe in that.
You start off on a Friday thinking, okay, 4:30 you're okay. By Saturday, something else might come up with it. So it doesn't seem to ever stop. I feel the challenge that Mayor and Council has also is calming the fears of the town of Maple Creek. The challenge has also been the outbreak on the RM of 111, where we fit in and how we fit in. And it never was passed. We had many conversations of, do we close our town down? Do we only let people in for absolutely necessities? We need to make sure that we are following the public health guidelines and getting that message out and across. So, it doesn't stop.
The change in business model was abrupt, it was startling, and it was uncertain. Maple Creek's economy depends on tourism to a large extent, and its GDP is about 1/3 devoted to tourism. The area, the Southwest, sees over $30 million a year in tourism. We see between 300 and 330,000 people pass through going to the park. The tourism business has always been anchored by special events in Maple Creek. None of those are going to be able to be held this year. Tourism has offshoots that support the town in ways that people don't necessarily think about.
It was in my mind that I wanted to start up a place, so I was looking around, and Maple Creek stuck out quite blatantly on the list as a spot that I really thought could support the type of brewery that I wanted to open. The COVID pandemic, when it really hit and everything started to lock down and restaurants and bars were closed and everything, that was the week we went and picked our brew house up. So here we are with our equipment, and we're thinking like what do we do? And, but we were in too deep to say stop, and I was always told you never say whoa in a bog hole. You keep your foot as far into the oil pan as you can and keep the gas on, and hopefully you're going to make it to the other side.
You've got to remember, several of the restaurants weren't open because it was pandemic time. We were wondering whether or not we were going to have a business community at the end of the initial response to the pandemic. And to see after our opening and showing such enthusiasm and such optimism just reinforced the enthusiasm and optimism that we all have to carry in order to get through this.
I always like to say that puzzles were the new toilet paper. People were connecting to a favorite pastime that many people hadn't enjoyed in many years. And so in the cities, they ran out of puzzles very quickly: Regina, Saskatoon, Calgary, Edmonton. And we, having Canada's largest puzzle display, were able to tap into that great resource of 7,000 puzzles and start shipping. And we were able to provide product when other people couldn't. We used Facebook as our main method of reaching customers, and we did that by posting many, many pictures on our Facebook page. We found that people were sharing our posts, and we were reaching hundreds of customers we had never, ever had contact with before. And that way we were able to ship hundreds of boxes to other cities in Western Canada.
On the 19th of May, when they opened up for phase 2, we just did the main street and welcomed back the businesses that were there. And each and every one of those businesses had different ideas of how they were going to survive and what they were going to do. They didn't just walk away. They dug their heels in and worked hard to make sure that their businesses were going to survive COVID.
Well, it's uncharted waters for us. I mean, neither one of us has been in the grocery business or the retail business for that matter. We just know good food. So I'm just going to cut this into manageable portions that people can take home. We've been the Rockin' Horse for 12 years and we want it to continue and support our community. We've shifted from restaurant and bar to a market and cafe. We're going to offer fresh cuts of meat, fresh vegetables, a lot of the things that we make in-house. When I trim my trees in the back, I have an apple tree and a cherry tree. That's the wood I use to smoke with. This is actually about 5 or 6 years in the making, and this whole pandemic just forced the issue and sped up our timeline a little bit.
We have learned many times. We learned it in the early 2000s with mad cow disease. We learned that we could rebound. We learned it in 2008 with the global pandemic. We learned that we were resilient. And by supporting each other and by shopping local, we could keep the business community going. We learned it in 2010 with the flood. We survived and we thrived. We were starting to sit on our laurels. We were starting to say, oh, Maple Creek's a nice place to live, nice place to do business. Let's just carry on. We've got the Cypress Hills destination area that's bringing tourists to us. We've got the park. We've got agriculture. But the pandemic said to us, no, you get off your butts and you start doing it again. You start learning, you start growing, you start challenging your situations.
I seen an opportunity in some of my paint departments saying, we can expand this right now, and I did. The next morning, got up, ordered a whole bunch of new stains, paints, people were asking for it. I got a good deal on furniture. I actually bought a semi-load of furniture. Our greenhouse area, we just brought in way different things I took chances on because I had the customers. Some of it, I cut my margin on hard, like sanitizers, to get it in. It doesn't matter to me if I'm making money on that. I want my people to be safe. And I'm not looking to double my money or triple. I'm just looking to get it in, give my people a good deal, keep them coming back, and make sure they stay in town to buy their stuff.
Take care.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Anybody starting a business, anybody doing a business plan from now on, doesn't matter what you're doing, there's going to be a section for this. How are you going to operate your business in the event of global pandemic number 2, 3, 4, whatever the number will be? Honestly, the key to survival, as far as I'm concerned, is staying nimble and being able to roll with the punches. Being dead set in your ways and not willing to change and adapt global pandemic or not, is very much a death sentence for any business, right? If your feet aren't moving, you're standing still, and if you're standing still, somebody's going to run over you or go blast you, right?
Our business community is resilient. They are. They're phenomenal with what they're doing and how they're making do, because they're here for the long haul. they're trying to look at different ways too, other than just relying on tourism.
What I've learned going through the pandemic so far is that our market is far greater than we imagined. We also learned too about the generosity of people, and during the pandemic we saw that people were buying gifts for each other and ordering puzzles and having it sent to their grandparents in senior care and families that might not have been able to get out. And that was something too that I always knew it was out there, but it was amazing to see it come to life.
The future for the Daily Grind is online sales. We will never serve dinner. We will never have a menu, but we're going to expand our food offering. And of course, we've opened a little store next door for some of the gifts, and so that I can hang out and be part of the main street. There is a catchphrase that I use at meetings. We approach things with grace and optimism. If we approach things with grace and optimism, we will not only survive, we will thrive. We have to look at the opportunity and not take the challenge as something that cannot be surmounted. And Maple Creek has proved this over and over and over again. So I think the next 6 months you'll find that we continue as we are now, respectful of people's distance, well aware of the kinds of precautions that as a business person I have to take or we have to take. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, we put hearts on our windows for the children to count, and we put hearts on our sleeves to help the community.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on maxTV Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sastel.com.